Shadowboxing with Filthy and J-Dog.
All right, we are back live with season 2, episode 2 of Shadowboxing, the TSR community podcast. We're not live, we're not streaming this, but this is recording. We're live recording because we don't edit, so it's basically live. This is J-Dog, joined by my best friend and constant co-host, Filthy. Filthy, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, y'all. Glad to be here. Uh, Good to be doing another night of shadow boxing and, providing you with a little bit of content for this league and something to listen to and just a little bit of analysis. Joined by someone new to the show tonight, we've got Kapp in, his first time in the show. So everybody give him a warm welcome. And Kapp, if you got something to say, go ahead and chime in, man. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, guys. Thanks for the invite. TSR is great, so let's keep this league rolling.
All right, we'd love to hear it. Well, so tonight we're gonna have a little bit different of like the way that we're doing things. So traditionally, and we talked about last week, I should say, we teased a little bit that we might be doing a different format for the show. Tonight will be that. So essentially, what we're doing is instead of going division by division, instead we're just going to go from the power rankings. We're going to go from the top to the bottom. Starting with the teams at the top that are like in tight races and things like that will be something that like a lot of people like. Something that I thought about was, well, if we're starting at the top going at the bottom, we're going to have to talk about all the teams at the bottom like right away. But at the same time I should say. But at the same time, when we do divisions, we end up talking about like what's the end of every division. It's whoever's at the bottom, and we're talking about like what they need to do to get back in the game, where they're looking at. Again, with this being a 6-season cycle, is this a team that just is like, fine, we're just not going to win this year. We'll go ahead and look at the future, the rest of the cycle. All of that gets talked about anyways. So in terms of this format that we've got, we're going to give it a shot, see what happens, see what we like, what we don't like. Of course, we always ask for feedback. Never more will we ask for that than when we're going to have a new format on the podcast. So we're going to go top to bottom. And again, some of these stats won't be updated just because games have happened between whenever the site was last updated and now. So some of the power rankings could change if they were to be updated in real time. But we're just going based off of the most recent complete week that the league has. So before we get into that, do you guys have any thoughts or anything that you want to say about it before we get started?
I don't know. I felt like there was a little bit of, stuff that went on today. We had somebody leave that had been here, since the beginning of last cycle. But, like, honestly, guys, I think we need to worry less about the people that leave and more about the people that are here that are actually trying to make this league great. To the people that have left, I mean, it's to each their own, but I feel like the general mass majority of us are trying to build something special here, and honestly, I think we just need to focus on those people and then bring in people that want to be a part of that culture of what we've, tried to do, I feel like, as a league so far with TSR. I don't know, that's just my little thoughts. I feel like it was a weird day, so I just kind of wanted to say that, and from there, I'll kind of move on. I said my piece about things earlier, I feel like.
Okay.
Yeah, I just joined this league this year, so, I mean, I've been welcomed by everybody, and it's like, wow, these people are just going everywhere. But like I said, I'll lose every game this season with the Texans. I mean, that's a rebuild job to begin with, so. But I'm enjoying my time, and hopefully we can keep moving forward.
I mean, we have an amazing core, dude, like, at the end of the day. So, like, I don't see this just, like, magically disappearing one night. And that's not something that's even crossed my mind.
No. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Like,
yeah.
It hasn't crossed your mind because why would it?
Right.
But yeah, weird day, but you'll have those. It's early in a cycle, Yeah. This league was spared from that because it started at the end of a cycle. But there's always shit that happens at the beginning of cycles, and stuff goes down, and people go different ways. So is what it is. But we're not making this podcast for the people that aren't in this league anymore. We're making this podcast for the ones that are. We're talking about power rankings. We're talking about all of the shit that we need to talk about undoubtedly some shit that nobody should be talking about or cares about, because that's what this podcast does. And roughly somewhere between an hour and 3 hours from now, we'll wrap this bitch up. So let's let's talk about
that ain't the goddamn truth.
talk about the Saints. Filthy.
The Saints,
That's I don't want to, I'm not prodding, but I feel like
no, it's fine. And like, I knew I was gonna record this right after I played them, so it was either I was gonna be really happy about this or really disappointed. But that was my opponent this week. I unfortunately dropped that game. I don't know. I know you guys have heard me say it, and like I haven't quite figured out the passing yet this year. And I feel like that's starting to click. I just gotta get them fucking turnovers down. And the turnovers, I'm not even like, I don't even feel like I'm getting user picked or I'm making like stupid reads or anything like, well, no, let me rephrase it. I'm making stupid reads. That's the problem. I'm throwing passes that would work in Madden 22, and this isn't Madden 22, it's Madden 23. So I'm starting to connect on things. I'm starting to get things. I need to vary up my defense a little bit more. I think I'm getting one-sided too much, and people are coming out in the second half and adjusting to it because I'm playing great defense in the first half of games, and then it's falling apart. Gouda deserves to be on top of this list, though. Dude's 6-0, man. He's played his games, too. He has one force win for him. So, like, Gouda's been playing his games. He's been doing his thing. I mean, we both know Gouda's a good user, man. Like, I mean, that dates back a long time. So it doesn't surprise me to see him here. And I'm interested to see what he'll do full cycle. It's gonna be fun because, like, I know, his brother, Q's up on this list pretty high too, and we'll get to that. But it's gonna be fun to watch them two in the same division battle it out, especially if Q can build that Falcons team up. But we'll get to him later. I think Gouda deserves to be top of this list right now as the only undefeated team. Oh, we'll get into that with the next guy because I guess you could debate it, but I think the 1 and 2 right now are pretty fucking clear, at least in my opinion.
Cap, what do you think?
Well, I can't disagree with anything that was just said. I mean, New Orleans is playing great right now, 6-0, and I mean, number 2 team, hello. I mean, they're one loss. I mean, come on.
Well, and the thing is, his one loss shouldn't be one loss. Like, I've never reached out to ask what happened there. He beat me by 1 point. Or maybe it was a little bit more. I thought it was by 1 point. But the game didn't save. That's because franchise, I think they just fixed that this morning. I know they took the game down for maintenance and did some shit.
Did they say they fixed it? I know they took the game down for maintenance, and I know you couldn't play franchise. But did they explicitly say it's because they were fixing it?
I swear to God, that better be what the fuck they're fixing.
I mean, of course, it should be what they're fixing, but did they say they were going to do it? Because, that's where it's gotten for me. Like,
I don't think the force wing got plugged for him, and it doesn't show that it did, so I don't really think Hive deserves to have that loss. So that's the only reason I think you could argue on which one of them really deserves to be on top of the power rankings right now.
So what you're saying is, in your game, it should have been a force win for him, but the game didn't save, and it just straight simmed it, and then you won the straight sim.
No, so like we played the game.
Mm-hmm.
He won.
Mm-hmm.
The results didn't save, and they were just gonna plug the force for him. And like if you look at it, it says force none.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was a game glitch.
But then who
or
won
they
the
just
straight
never
sim? I
said
assumed
it.
that you won
I
the
did.
straight sim. Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up winning 38-27. Joe Burrow threw like 5 touchdowns or some shit.
Straight sim. There you go.
Yeah, because Burrow computer Joe Burrow is good. Me controlling Joe Burrow is not good.
We'll get to that. We got some spots, but so to that point, Hive should be 5-0, same as Gouda, and
Yep.
outside of that game, I guess I'd have to look. Did Hive get any other force wins?
He won this week too, so I believe he's 5-1 now. So they should both be 6-0.
They should be. And has Hive had any force wins? I guess what I'm asking.
That I didn't actually look. I know this from looking at Gouda's last night. Let me take a peek.
Because that was my first game. He beat the brakes off of me. Unless I'm misremembering all this shit, but I'm pretty sure I'm not.
No, first game you played was versus me.
Oh.
Yeah, Hive's played all of his games except for and like even the one that it's showing that's a loss. That should be a win for him. So
Yeah.
he should be undefeated. He just beat the Giants this week, 55-27. I mean,
Jeez.
So he's, he's up there.
Up.
It's interesting if you look at the way that they are. Look at how they're completely like opposite in terms of points for and points against. With the exception of being that like Hive has given up. He's 16th overall ranked in points against. If you're looking at Neon Sports, I assume that's skewed by losing that sim game to you. I have a feeling he's probably played some really good defense, and there was that game that like he gave it more points than like what was the score? Well, he might have given up that same amount of points. Either way, you notice like Hive is number 1 in points for, and Gouda is number 1 in points against. Like they're opposites. Now Gouda is 6th in points for again. I think Hive is probably higher than what that 16 points against would be. If certain factors weren't skewed. But it's like they're both really good across the board. They're both like the best on one end, and then the other is the best on the other end. Which is like, that's an awesome storyline and easy like, well, it's early, it's way too early, but looking at those numbers, like, is that your Super Bowl prediction? Now, obviously we're not saying that, but like...
I mean, thus far, and the way Gouda's playing with them Saints, man, like, he made Jameis Winston look pretty good tonight, I'll be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
And if you can do that... But then, of course, I suppose there are 2 other currently undefeated 5-0 teams in the Cowboys and Packers, and if you're looking at the Cowboys,
I mean...
you're talking about, points for, points against... It's looking like that Cowboys squad looks like Bloom really has his squad working in order.
Bloom's playing good with that Cowboys team. I mean, he whooped my...
Yeah, he's gonna take the first 10 minutes of this podcast personally. I just realized.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, I could. That's the third guy. Bloom's the next person on that list I could put up there.
Yeah,
fighting for that seed. Yeah, he just got, dude, from the ass whooping I got, you know what I mean? Like, I've played him before, and, like, it's funny. I think we've played 4 times. I've got 2 wins that are close games, and then I think there's 2 games he's just absolutely dumpstered. Like, completely dumpstered me.
Yeah.
So, he's playing off the chain right now, man. I think he's gonna make a deep push. I think the NFC's got some really good people in it.
They do, too,
because...
the next person behind him is Double Rice, and he's having
the top 5 are all,
too.
or no, 4 of the top 5 are fucking
That's
AFC
all
teams,
NFC, yeah.
Which is funny because last year this was like it was AFC top heavy.
That's true.
That could be your final 5. That could be your. It could be the semi. It could be the divisional.
Yeah. Which is kind of, I mean. It's kind of crazy for Hive, because it's like, well, if you take away the other people, you've got that Falcons, and so he should be 5-0. And then the next closest team in his division is, granted, it's a 4-1 team, and the Bills, Jason has his shit together.
Yeah.
But it does, again, it just seems really, like we talked about, top heavy for the NFC, whereas the AFC, it's like you have 2 teams, and then what else?
It's a dumpster fire after that.
Yeah, it's a bunch
of us middling around.
Yeah, no, it's just a bunch of muddling bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
that's it. Definitely, that's a trend.
And I mean, I feel like that's gonna change, like as the cycle goes on. You know what I mean? But like as it sits right now, dude, it's just fucking wild to me how mediocre the NFC has been playing as a whole. Like,
yeah.
Well, the AFC's been...
The AFC, you mean? Like...
The NFC on fire, for the most part. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
But the AFC's been a whew.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, if we're just talking about, like, conference power only means you're winning the Super Bowl out of your conference.
Yeah,
like
I mean, hey, fuck it. Like
it's early. I think Hive's got as good a chance as anybody. So I do think, to that point, there is something to be said for playing tougher games going up to it, because if you're just not playing anybody, if you have a significantly worse opponent in your championship game versus the winner of the other one,
Oh man.
you're fucked. Because
Yeah,
you have
basically.
so much confidence about having just beaten down somebody that's not even that good. And the other person's got a bigger chip on their shoulder. And has also just played somebody that made them think harder. It's like there's a lot that goes into it. But there are some users that are just, it doesn't matter who they play. There are some users that can take the easy road and they still just stomp the last person that's in their path. So, I don't know. It could be interesting one way or the other, but at the top, it's definitely NFC this year.
Yeah, so far.
So far.
There's, yeah.
So the other team that we haven't talked about, I feel like a whole lot yet, would be the Cardinals. They are NFC, so we talked about the NFC a whole lot, but I don't feel like we talked about Doc and his Cardinals. He's got them in that 4-1 tier where I do. Yeah. I kind of, all of these teams, I kind of want to just put them in their own tier. Not that we're making a tier list, but it's like, it feels like the cutoff is really 4-1, and then there's a bunch of 3-2 teams.
Yeah.
But those 3-2 teams feel just, obviously they should feel different from a 4-1 team because they are literally different, but it feels like all of the 4-1 teams and all of the 5-0 teams, I think, are pretty close.
Yeah.
And it sort of feels like the 3-2 is where the cutoff comes, where it's just getting a little bit scrappier.
Yeah, I mean, like, even I'm looking at this, so, like, I mean, so what's crazy to me about Doc right now and, like, how well he's playing is the fact that, remember, Kyler Murray got hurt.
Yeah.
He's out for the year, so
Yeah.
Doc's out here doing it with a backup, man, which is just...
No doubt.
Which to me is a testament to being good at the game and, like, you know, knowing what you're doing, knowing football, knowing how to read and react, and he's got that team playing well, which, fucking, hey, man, more power to you. Like, that's... I know, like, if Burrow goes down, I'm basically fucked. Like, I would just count all of those as losses after that. Like...
Yeah, it'd be kind of like the Chargers losing Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, oh God, I don't know. For the people that watched that game, the fact that they still were trotting him out there will blow my mind for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, just losing a guy like Murray or Herbert or even a Mahomes.
And well, the fact that they were trotting him out there when it was very obvious that he could barely stand, he couldn't put anything on his throws, like that kind of shit. That's what really blew my mind when he could have walked to the first down on 3rd and whatever the hell, or like whatever play, and he just chose to throw it away and didn't even have Arma on it. I was like, dude, that guy's hurt. Like, you should not have him out there. But then on the next play, he has that amazing strike downfield, which you can even see is all arm. Like, that's his arm and his wrist. He's just that good. He's that strong. And it's like, okay, so he could make that throw. But that doesn't mean that we should leave him in the game right now.
Alright.
Because what's going to happen? He does end up being the hero, throws the touchdown pass, and then it still doesn't matter because you don't recover an onside kick, and none of that was, like, probable in the first place. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Not at all what we're talking about in terms of divisions and power rankings, shit like that, but, like, I question very strongly the decision-making of the Chargers coaching staff tonight.
Yeah.
And like I said, my mom and I were texting because she's a huge football fan, and we text during games and stuff. And we were like, I was like, I can't believe this. She was like, I can't believe it either. And I told her, I was just like, I just hope that I don't wake up to a headline about a multi-week injury for him at this point. Like, that's all I hope.
Right.
Fucking stupid that they did that. Anyways,
back topic, I guess.
We were talking about injured quarterbacks. And,
and that's kind of what I brought Justin Herbert up for, was because we were talking about Kyler Murray in the game, and then it's like, so it just kind of came up. But yeah.
No, but I mean, to that point, like, Chase Daniel played one snap, he handed the ball off, and it was an excellent handoff. If anyone didn't see it, you couldn't coach it better than the way that Chase Daniel,
Chase
whatever
Daniel.
the fuck, Chase
I
Daniel.
don't know why.
Trying to get him.
Chase McDaniel.
I think he's the love child of Josh McDaniel and somebody else that made a quarterback. He was like, "This is what I always needed, a quarterback son." I know, like the ages, it doesn't work out that way, but in my head,
Yeah, right. Yep.
imagine if he could put his brain into quarterback.
Yeah,
He thinks about it all the time.
Yep.
But for what it's worth, Chase Daniel tonight did great, and he didn't do anything, and that's, but he's been the backup of how many teams, like
a lot.
and
Yeah,
that's
he
like
bounced around the league for a good long
people
while.
joke about that, but like the fact that you bounce around and still find jobs, that's something as a backup quarterback. Because how many
Almost
teams,
definitely.
like how many teams backup quarterbacks just like nobody knows who they are 3 years later. Chase Daniel's been around, which means he's good enough to be somebody's backup every single season. So I thought that in that situation, they should have just been like, well, this is the best option we have. Let's maybe not ruin
our future.
games. Yeah, the whole future. Best case scenario, if it's a multi-week injury, he's just missing that time. Worst case is it's a season, and then it's like way off. All this shit. It's like over one game. Made no sense. Did not need to happen. But what I've been trying to do is look up to see, because we're talking about Doc and backup quarterbacks.
Right. Yeah.
Who the fuck is Doc rocking with?
Well, I don't know who Arizona's backup quarterback is, to be honest.
It's been some combination of Teddy Bridgewater and Colt McCoy.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna assume it's been Teddy. Like,
You say that,
I would.
but Teddy Bridgewater has 5 touchdowns to 13 interceptions,
oof.
and Colt McCoy has 4 touchdowns to 0 interceptions.
Oh, maybe Colt.
It looks like, McCoy's got 33 attempts to Bridgewater's 110, so it looks like he tried to use Bridgewater and it wasn't working. And he switched to McCoy, maybe even just for his last game. Or, 33 attempts, could that be 2 games?
That
Could be.
If you're running the ball heavy, then it definitely could be.
So, then let's say that it was the last 2 games. Even still. To have 5 touchdowns and 13 interceptions and get to, 2-1? Because if let's assume he started McCoy for 2 games on those numbers. And he's 5-1 now. That means he was 4-1 now. That means he was 2-1 when we made the switch. To even get to 2-1 with 5 passing touchdowns and 13 interceptions, like that's impressive. And then
most definitely.
And then again, imagine that was your total over 3 games. What if this was just 1 game for Colt McCoy? And if that was just 1 game for Colt McCoy, not only did he make the move, but that was a stellar game.
Yeah, right.
274 yards, 4 touchdowns.
I keep going back to as well is even if most other people are gonna go into a fucking hole there if their starter goes down.
Well, especially if their starter is Kyler Murray. That is the identity of the Cardinals. That's the reason that you take the Arizona Cardinals is because Kyler Murray will be your quarterback. So to be able, like you said, to be able to come back from that, that's craziness.
Yeah. Jeez.
Oh shit. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh, Raggy.
I've said this. I've said all of this about Teddy Bridgewater, and it looks like Teddy Bridgewater is the guy he's using now.
Uh-oh.
Where did it all come from? He hasn't done great with Bridgewater. Dude, these stats are crazy. Okay, so in the last week he beat Fig Newton, put up 41 points, threw 2 touchdowns, had 1 interception with Bridgewater. This is why this show takes forever. It's because I find little nuggets that I can't let go of. I was just
Right.
talking about like this heroic. It looks like it actually started the other way. Because in week 6 and week 5, Teddy Bridgewater was the only person to throw passes.
Wow. Huh.
And it's the same in week 4, where he threw no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Week 3, he threw. Well, here's where it is. In week 3, he threw 0 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Oh, goodness.
That was in a loss to Evans.
Mm.
So, Doc is 4-1, but he did lose 44-19 to Evans and threw 7 interceptions in that game.
Yeah.
That's fucking rough.
That's rough. I'm trying to look for it.
That's
And Bridgewater
that's
again. I'm telling you.
interception.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. Week 1, because I forgot, Kyler Murray didn't complete a pass in week 1. He got hurt immediately.
Oh yeah.
Colt McCoy came out, threw for 274 yards and 4 touchdowns in a win.
I think that was a sim.
It
game,
was
though.
a sim game. Oh no. Dude, the twists and turns in this story have been like everywhere.
I know.
All right, never mind. Colt McCoy actually sucks. Doc never had a good game with Colt. It was a sim win.
Everything was
Cool.
a lie. My whole life is turned upside
My
down.
whole life is turned upside down, and in his
A lie.
4 wins and 1 loss, because he should be 5-1, because he's got 5 wins. In his 5 wins and 1 loss, he's gone 4-1 with a Teddy Bridgewater with 5 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. That shit blows my mind.
It's wild.
You think he'd be 2-3?
That's
or...
been... I don't know how I'm going to timestamp this part of this podcast when I'm doing it tomorrow. I truly don't understand how I'm going to do it.
I don't know either, man.
But we've spent a decent amount of time talking about a quarterback situation that we weren't aware of, but we just looked at the numbers and we're like, surely it must have been this.
Right?
Me.
Right?
Not even we. Like, you guys are like, I wasn't saying shit. You were just going on some sort of rant. Anyways,
You're just doing that thing you do, son. I'm not here for the ride.
the numbers made it very much look like it was one thing. And then it wasn't that thing. So I tried to figure, and then it was that thing the whole time. I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It's been an experience. All right, so
So,
you want to talk? You talked at length about the Bengals basically at the beginning of this podcast. Just about you personally. I guess you didn't talk about the team, but you were talking about what you were seeing and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I'm gonna drop in this ranking because I'm 3-3 now, where this has me at 3-2. So I'll fall back down. Win loss, win loss, win loss, win loss. It's just the constant back and forth through the first 6 games. So we got some areas to improve on. See what ends up happening. It's a long cycle, and I don't think this is gonna be my whole cycle. I think it's just a blip in the road right now.
yeah, I agree. That's a Buster with the Panthers. He's at 3-2, sitting at 9. What do you think about Buster at 9?
Oh man, he's starting Corral, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, dude, if you're running it with a rookie quarterback, to have him at 3-2 isn't all that bad. And honestly, I feel like most of the league is sitting in that range. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Has he played this week?
I'm checking that right now. Corral's had 11 touchdowns and 14 picks, so not amazing, but not terrible. Certainly not bad. He has not played this week. He plays the Rams.
Oh boy.
So
Who's the Rams again?
the Rams? That's Evans, right?
I was gonna
Evans?
say no.
No, it's
What do you guys think? You think he wins that game?
Wait. Is that Evans? Least no. Yeah. Never mind. I'm looking at Chargers, Rams. Fuck, they're both in LA. But Evans. I mean, well, because Evans is also. He's not done as well as I would have thought. He's 3-2.
Oh, it's because that Rams team has like 5 nice pieces and everything behind its ass.
Yeah. But he
That's-
also smoked Doc, remember?
Yeah.
So I guess I should look and see if he's had, because he annihilated me in the preseason tournament. It was bad. I didn't play well. I was playing like garbage anyways, but he didn't play down to that level or anything. Just dumpstered me. And I was like, oh shit, this guy knows what he's doing. And so then he started. I mean, it's 3-2 now. It could be different, but the fact that he started not in this upper level of users we were talking about kind of surprised me. But
Yeah.
I'd have to look because, again, he handled Doc. It was what did I say, 44-19? So
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I have to look at that schedule and see if he's had forced losses or something. But, I mean, that's got to be my pick in that game. If you look at his games played, he has a loss to Bloom King that was played 5 times.
Yeah, they kept getting a desync on that, so it came down to a fair sim. That's because franchise has been so fucky the past couple of weeks, dude.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And I just, dude, that's that. Maybe he's a 4-1 team right now, right? If that it, I fucking wish so bad that they would just release a playable fucking game. Just give us a stable version of last year's franchise. They can't even do that. Shit. We'd pay $60 just for a roster update at this point. That's basically what we've been doing. But you're making it worse. How the fuck?
Yeah.
So
This is
anyways,
The Mutt Show.
so Evans lost a game that was played twice. Maybe had a desync there too, but he lost pretty handily to Jace Move. And he lost a 1-possession game to Q Pierce. And then he blew out Doc. He basically blew out Fink. It was 59-28, so that's not even basically, that's blowout. And then he lost on a fair sim to Bloom. This guy's played nothing but good users. And he should be 4-1. So that's, I'd take him against Buster.
Yeah, and I mean, it's probably not too late either for Evans to turn it around, man. We could see him shoot up this list rather quickly.
Well, look at it. Like we talked about, the AFC is muddled. If you're 3-2, you are far beyond out of the AFC. So yeah,
even
no,
at 3-3,
absolutely.
I'm not. I don't consider myself out of it.
You're not either. Because I'm saying all this shit. Evans could get blown out by Buster. Evans is in the NFC, so he doesn't have all of the AFC things that I'm talking about. But
I think he might beat. Yeah, I think he'll beat Buster though.
I think he'll beat Buster, and I think then, he's in that mix. It's gonna be harder just because the NFC is harder at the top end there, but he'll have options.
Yeah.
He's in the West, right? So technically, he's gonna be at the top of that anyways.
You still got the Cardinals and pretty much it.
Where the hell are the Rams? Oh wait, the Rams are 2-3. Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah, so he's actually 2-3, not 3-2. Even still,
he's not out of it.
I fucked up the record, but I think the point stands that he played nothing but great users to begin the season. And then who knows what would have happened if his week 5 sim didn't go against him.
Right. He'd be 3-2 then, yeah.
And granted, it doesn't get a ton better. He's still got to play good users. Damn. Holy shit, dude. This guy's schedule is insane. If you look at this, he's got to play Buster, who we've already, he's sitting at number 9. He's 3-2. This is a guy that we expect to do well. So he's got Buster, he's got a bye week. Then he plays Fink again, who we all know is a good user.
Right.
He's got the CPU Bucks, so that's great. Well, then he's at home against Doc, who he handled before, but Doc's not going to take that well. He's going to come back prepared for that game. Then he goes on the road to play the Saints. He goes on the road to play Faz with the Chiefs. He's at home against Fig Newton because that's a divisional game again. Then he's hosting Darkness. Then he goes on the road to Double Rice. Then he's hosting It's Coach B. Like, this guy has that might be the hardest schedule I've ever seen.
Well, they are the reigning champs, so.
Yeah, that's what they get, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's literally what you get is the hardest schedule, I think.
It's like the Lions having the easiest schedule because they were like the worst, second worst.
Well,
last year.
he's 2-3 right now. He's about to be going through the ringer. Like, he's already gone through the ringer, and he's just gonna be keeping going through it. Like,
next week, yeah.
oh man.
But he could turn it around, like you said. I mean, he's a good player too. So he's just had a couple of bad bounces.
He could,
so.
but also it's like, so then, all right. So do I? And now is it just like the fact that he beat the shit out of me, and also has had good games against good users and lost games against good users or whatever? Like, should I not be favoring him over the Panthers? Buster, who's 3-2, who I also know is a good user. I don't know, man. It's confusing.
It's a toss-up.
There's a lot of good users.
3 against
across the board.
Yeah. Honestly, it seems like a roll of the dice to me at this point.
Yeah. It's a coin flip. I would take the whole team. I mean, if I were to choose, I would take whoever was playing at home. I don't know. Like,
and it does give you the early momentum swing, especially if you can hold it and keep it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Well, it's just easier to get and to keep momentum when you're at home. It's obnoxious, and it will be in Los Angeles for what it's worth. So,
oh, there you go.
Giving Evans the nods, make the NFC a little more muddled in their middle.
I'd say it's a 3-point game. Maybe a last-second field goal, or maybe a last-second pick six or something to turn it around.
I think it'll be a 10-point game, and I think it'll be because of somebody forcing it in a 3-point situation that ends up in a pick six or like a defensive recovery where it's easy to just put the dagger in or something like that.
Six or something, yeah. Or Stafford going back to being Stafford. You never know. But
Matt Stafford was always a good quarterback.
Yeah, but
he was never bad. He played on some of the worst teams imaginable, and he was never a bad quarterback.
No, but he always made those dumb mistakes, and that's why he's
a Super Bowl champion. Like,
yeah,
I don't think he was known for dumb mistakes.
I mean, he made some dumb ones when he was with the Lions for sure.
Well, I mean, every quarterback ever has made some dumb mistakes, especially quarterbacks for the Lions. My God, that bar is low.
I know.
But I think because Matt Stafford, I think he got flack because they were like, the bar's just so low, they love you there. And I was like, nah, Matt Stafford wasn't the reason that team never won anything. Matt Stafford could have made that team a Super Bowl winner if they had built the right pieces around him, and I think he fucking proved that when, advanced in age as he was, he took the Rams to a Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, but they had
his first year. He's like, give me a decent roster, okay.
Yeah, he had a pretty damn decent roster there. Cooper Kapp, even though Akers was out all year, they had.
Yeah, no, they had a talented
Robert
roster.
Woods at the time too. Robert Woods played well for them. They had Odell Beckham. Tore up the first half of that Super Bowl. But once again, man, when I look at that Rams roster, I see like 5 nice things, and the rest is ass.
Yeah, well, for a Madden team. It's different than it was in real life. Same thing for for the Bengals, right?
Mm-hmm.
But either way, Man's had a brutal schedule. We'll continue to have one, and maybe this is the show it to me game that he's got coming up against Buster and the Panthers.
Yeah, we'll see. It's gonna be a good one, folks.
Yeah, make sure you tune in.
Tune in, absolutely.
Check the game time, see if that's been posted.
Right.
In the meantime, we can talk about the rest of the 3-2 teams that we've got below us. We've got the Browns, Chiefs, Chargers. There's a lot of 3-2 teams. Holy shit, there's a ton of 3-2 teams.
8 different teams that are 3-2 right now.
Yikes.
Well, technically, I'm 3-3 now. So I mean, some of them, like I said, have been played, and that's different. And that's going to shift.
There were 11 3-2 teams according to the website.
Jesus.
Like, again, that's not updated, so yes, you're a 3-2 team, I think, according to the website, and that'll change. But the point being, going into this week, there were 11 3-2 teams.
Damn.
Which is crazy.
That's insane.
That's fucking
I don't
bunched
even
up.
know how you
Differentiate.
yeah, right. How do you separate these teams? Some of them are like, okay, so Fink is 3-2. He has the third ranked offense and the sixth ranked defense.
Yeah.
And just in terms of points for and points against.
Okay.
So Fink is scoring the third most points per game and only giving up the sixth least points per game. And he's 3-2. Like, that's better than a lot of the 3-2 teams. Although, for what it's worth, Filthy's Bengals have the best points against defense in the league right now. Not scoring at all, 26th in points, but the number one defense. And
We're on scoring defense.
yeah, like, so least points against.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's because I lose close games.
Or no,
but, like,
actually, I'm sorry, I had those numbers wrong.
yeah, I was gonna say that's.
You have the seventh.
That's
Your
gotta be
defense
backwards.
is never mind. It is literally backwards. Your defense is terrible. It's 26, but you're seventh in points for.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter because I can't stop a kid riding a red tricycle.
Yeah. Those damn kids in their red tricycles. Anyways,
Yeah, I was like, stop,
Fink,
kid. And he's like, fuck you,
Fink
old
is
man.
third
and
in
just kept
offense
going.
and sixth in defense. So again, there's not really anybody that's that high in both of those categories. There's nobody else that's 3-2. You see some interesting like 4-13. So like the Broncos, right? Fourth in offense, 13th in defense. Just we're talking points for and against. But again, I think points are what matters. Who cares about yards?
Yeah.
But the Broncos, Coach B,
You
he's
could
up
have
there.
all the yards in the world if you throw 3 picks in a game. It doesn't fucking usually matter.
Right. Because you're not scoring, and scoring is literally how you win. So, I outside of Fink is the one user that jumps out to me as I'm looking at those numbers that it's like,
It's like what?
right? Why are you here?
Yeah. Right. You should be in like 4-1.
Right.
Yeah.
And looking at that,
At worst. I mean.
so he had a game that he couldn't play, or it was a forced win for Doc. That was one of his losses.
Mm-hmm.
And his other loss was also a forced loss. So he actually hasn't. He's played twice. He edged out Lee Seals 48-44 Chargers. And then he blew out. This is the game that inflated his stats. That 57-0 win against Hova.
Oh.
And then he didn't play against the CPU, the Bucks CPU. Although it's weird, it doesn't show a force win. But he played the Bucks, who are CPU. That's weird. But this last game he couldn't play. Darkness, the Raiders, and he got a 9-7 force loss. That game was 9-7.
Jesus.
Wow. Yikes.
So, let's see. Hopefully because his game this week is against Jay Smooth and the Bills. That's what we all want to see. So hopefully he can be there for that. Looks like he maybe hasn't been able to make a couple games, and that's okay. That happens. Trust me. No one understands that better than me. But
Right.
hopefully he can play this game against Jay Smooth, because that looks like it would be a lot of fun. He's looking good. Again, outside of that,
could
there's
also help swing a season.
I mean, literally could. You never know.
If you look at Smooth, I mean, the Bills are doing okay, but a win here could catapult them.
Yeah.
Yeah, flip around a lot of things for him.
It sure could.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, because I mean they're playing good, but then a win here, that's going to be a big game. That's for both teams. That's not just the.
Yeah. All right. Well, obviously, there's not a whole lot to say about the Browns. They're a CPU team for now. We'll see if they can get filled.
Right.
Just going past that, there you've got Lee Seals at 3-2, and again we're just kind of going down the list. All these teams in the middle, it's so hard to tell
Right.
like what's gonna be the big difference maker. They've all had such mixed results and mixed but similar results, just right on down the list.
Like it's like holy.
The middle of the pack is, I mean, as stupid as it sounds, has been honestly the middle of the pack. Like,
Right.
that's exactly what it's looked like. It's just a bunch of teams that are kind of meddling around, waiting to figure out, like, if they can turn it on and start to be great, or if year one ends up being a lost season.
Well, I think a few of those teams in the middle are gonna turn it around, and then some of them might just be 8-8 or
Yeah.
9-8 or something.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that, like, anyone, I think, in that middle, like, is going to completely fall off.
No.
But it's just, I mean, it's that debate you have at that point then, because then you end up with, like, a mid-first round pick, and it's like, oh, kind of wish I would have lost a couple more games, but obviously you don't want to try to lose games, so, like...
All right. Yeah, I don't want to throw it.
You just get stuck in this weird position.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, getting into some teams specifically. So we've got the Chargers. That's kind of the first team that's below that Chiefs, who we spend a good amount of time talking about.
Yeah, we already covered the Chiefs.
Yeah, covered them plenty. Yeah. But we got Lee Seals with the Chargers. So 3-2, 14th in offense, 22nd in defense. I guess it just kind of like, without looking at specific games, it's not a whole lot to look at. Unless we have that person that stands out, the more I'm like, let's break it down by team, but it's like, well, I mean, we can shout out the teams, but they're all kind of in the same place.
Yeah, they're all pretty even.
Like, I guess, like you just got done talking about. It's just the middle of the pack, which is what you'd expect.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, for the people, the folks that are concerned about making sure that the teams get shout outs, you got Lee Seals with the Chargers. We got the Raiders with Darkness 44. Broncos, Colts, Commanders, 49ers, Eagles. Those teams all round out our top, like, I guess, sort of top half of the middle. If you're
top half of the middle,
thinking of that, you got It's Cool B, Hova with the Colts, who had that unfortunate loss. That's a 3-2 team that had an unfortunate like blowout at the hands of I forget who at this point. The Faz.
Yeah.
So that was not as close, but still, that's a 3-2 team. And again, they're in this thick of it where it's like, well, we've got all these teams that are with us, but like, it's not unreachable. If you're 3-2, you're in the middle, but like, you can definitely see the playoffs. You can see them.
Yeah.
You're close, right? Jonesy with the Washington Commanders. That man won the Super Bowl.
He won he was our last Super Bowl champion in the last cycle.
Yep.
That's a guy that like he knows how to get there.
And this is where you're going to see teams make adjustments in the second half of the season.
I might have said Fink earlier. The Faz has Kansas City, and that's who blew out.
Yeah,
I think I said Fink. I meant the Faz. But
yeah,
but Fink has the 49ers. That's another 3-2 team. Matt Bomber is 3-2 with the Eagles.
Bomber's not here anymore, man.
Bomber's not here?
Yeah. Welcome to being real late to that party.
Shit.
Bomber's gone. Yeah, Bomber left.
I gotta catch up on chat. I will do that. But either way, like, I'm looking at all these teams that are there that are 3-2, and I'm like, these are users that know how to win. So it's like they're middle of the pack to kind of like get out the gate, but it's not somebody.
I don't see a lot of those guys being middle of the pack by the time it's all said and done.
There's sure. 12 weeks to go, so there's plenty of time for any of those teams to make a move.
Right. So I guess here's the question: if we're all agreeing, like, yeah, I'd be surprised to see these guys in the middle of the pack. I don't think that necessarily I have anything against the guys that are above them because they've started really well. So it's like,
Right.
if some of these 3 teams are moving up, who's gonna drop out?
But that's the other thing. Those teams that at the top, like, the Saints. I mean, they could fall. They just a catastrophic injury to a player like Kamara or Thomas, and then you're going down.
The Cardinals, if they lost a player like Murray,
Exactly. But you got
still 4-1.
Bridgewater stepping up, throwing only 5 touchdowns. So your defense must be playing well if he's throwing 13 interceptions.
Yeah.
So
they're all doing something right.
Any of those teams could fall back to earth, and then one of those teams that's 3-2 could just go on a long
skyrocket.
run. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's so early on in the cycle. Like, looking at these power rankings, I think obviously they don't tell the full story yet of what this is going to end up being. I think there's going to be a lot of movement in that middle of the pack by the time it's all done.
If we look at these power rankings again in like a couple of months, like at the last 4 weeks, I guarantee you there's going to be quite a bit of change.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I'd be surprised if there wasn't, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's going to be quite a bit of movement. I mean, look at the NFL changes weekly in real life.
Yep.
It's not college where you got one conference that dominates the whole dang thing. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of movement in the rankings. I'm certain. So.
All right. Well, we've covered those 3-2 teams. It's kind of a bit of the same with the 2 and 3 teams. You see, especially once you get first of all, there's not nearly as many 2 and 3 teams.
Right.
I said there were 3 and 2 teams, right? And there's 6 2 and 3 teams. So it's definitely a little top heavy just in the league in general.
Right.
And then you've got some 1 and 4 teams and some 0 and 5 teams too. So, but just looking at it then, like as we get into that 2 and 3 range, we're talking about the Rams. We've already talked about Evans. Definitely a guy that I think we agree we'd put closer to that 3 and 2 range than anybody that's in the 2 and 3 range.
Yeah.
But then you've got the AFC East in back-to-back spots, right? The Jets and the Dolphins. Kind of ironic to see that there. But you got Noobs and Shane. So that's
those teams are young, man, and like have some deficiencies. I know Tua isn't doing Shane any fucking favors whatsoever.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be. In the games that I've seen, it's like yikes.
Noobs lost a close one to me. Like he's a couple of breaks away from having a different record too, man.
Yeah.
To be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tua has thrown how many interceptions now? 20. I think I saw 28 or something.
Yeah, it's some ridiculous number.
Jeez.
Good Lord.
That's rough. But you'll have that when your quarterback is Tua.
Yeah, but you figured he'd be throwing all the short balls other than maybe a 2 or 3 to Hill all day, but throwing the little
I'll say this. The fact that he's 2 and 3 with 5 touchdowns and 28 interceptions,
that's crazy.
That's a little bit insane.
Yeah.
That's he's finding ways to win, and that is the important thing.
His defense,
and that's 28 interceptions because he hasn't played this week, so that's truly in 5 games.
Yipes!
What is that average per game?
That's like 5.5.
Right?
Almost. A little over maybe 5.5.
Yeah, it's 5.6. He's averaging a little over 5.5 interceptions a game, and he's 2 and 3.
That's fucking wild.
That is insane to me. He's so imagine if he can curb those interception numbers.
Oh my God.
He'll be unstoppable. I don't. That's That's incredible to me.
Yeah. Oh.
But other than that, you've got Noel with the Jaguars 2-3. Again, we talk about rebuilding rosters. The Jaguars are a young team.
Yeah.
They're not a team that you're expecting to just be world beaters right out of the gate. They've got like room and need to grow. So that's for sure.
Right. Still got Trevor Lawrence is still a young quarterback. Etienne's coming off the injury last year, so he was out of all of Madden 22. So you got to think he's gonna be worked back in slowly. So
yeah.
They got room to work.
You'd have to think so. Scott, do you have any thoughts on that stuff before we move on?
No, it's just, I mean, a lot of these teams, man, they're sitting down in this lower range, dude. It's the teams you kind of expect to be there, you know. They either don't have solid quarterbacks or they just have like major deficiencies and holes, and it's hard to win with those teams, especially early on before you've really developed the team and gotten it to the point you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and yeah, with the Lions with Lando, it's sort of the same thing. He's it's I've got the Lions in a different league. They're just not a super talented team. Like there's not a it's in the same rebuilding vein that you're talking about, and the extension kind of just continues to go down to, I guess, all of the rest of the teams on the list, right? Like they're all not doing great things in statistical categories, and you'd kind of expect that because they're all in that position where we're talking about rebuilding.
Yep.
Roster talent's not there because they're turning over the roster, like literally. But yeah, I mean, it's the Seahawks, Steelers, Texans, Buccaneers, Vikings, Titans, Patriots line out the bottom. And
you think the Titans would be up further based on someone?
You would think, because I guess everyone would think the Titans would be up further because you've got the Madden God quarterback Malik Willis. Well, his accuracy actually sucks really hard in year one.
Yeah,
you still have to develop him. Don't get me wrong. The raw speed and throw power that he has are like make him a sexy quarterback to have to rebuild a team with, because those are the hard things to upgrade. I can upgrade his accuracy. That's not a problem. But still, year one, he's going to be trash.
And you got Derrick. I mean, you still got Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but if you look at that team, and that's Pomp that has that team. He doesn't have, like, outside of Derrick Henry and the fact that you have Malik Willis that you can build, there's not a lot that's going on there. They traded away A.J. Brown, and they didn't have a ton of offensive weapons, like, outside of Brown and Henry in the first place, so they just traded him. They got the rookie receiver that's not at A.J. Brown's level in Madden. He might be one day, but he's not right now.
Not yet, no.
So that's not a super talented roster. It's just not.
No.
That's a team, honestly, that's gonna benefit from having a poor first year because they'll have more draft capital.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're a definite rebuild, man. They, like you said, they didn't have many offensive pieces to begin with, and like after the trades and stuff, what they're left with now is not all that special.
Yeah, it's garbage so far. I mean,
so far at least.
Yeah, could change in the next 5 seasons or whatever. So
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see, and then you've got Fig, who's got the Seahawks. That's another team that's, I mean, they're actually 1-5 now because he lost the game to Doc with his Cardinals. He's in a tough division, honestly. Like, it's pretty brutal for him. And the Seahawks are another team that just had no business beating the Broncos last Monday.
Absolutely.
But they did. But in Madden, as that roster goes, they're a bad team.
Yeah.
They have no weapons. They have less weapons than the Titans. And so it's like, you've got DK Metcalf.
Yep. Yep. And then and then Carson has to retire, so it's like, what the heck are you gonna do on offense?
Yeah. So
So
it's a lot of ugliness, and
Yeah, they don't have. There ain't much there in Seattle, man. That's gonna take some time to rebuild that team. That's gonna be a huge task, but
yep,
they got the draft capital.
they do.
Yep.
They have that.
that's
All
what
those
all
Broncos picks.
we're working with right now is our draft capital.
So then it's me with the Steelers. Um, it's been a rough start. A lot of the same things that you had talked about earlier, Filthy, apply to me, except I just have a much worse record through all of it. I I just don't. Some of the games, I'm like, I don't understand. I genuinely just don't like. I've had multiple games with like 3 fumbles, and it's like, I had a game, like the last game that I played. I was playing it fairly well, and I was down by 3, and I was getting the ball back with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and my returner fumbled on a hit by the opposing kicker. They returned it for a touchdown.
Wow.
And my mental just exploded. Like,
Jeez.
I felt like that was a really close, good game. And at that point, it just...
Yeah.
It wasn't
It just
over. I
spiraled.
should have been more composed. But that moment of complete, unfettered bullshit just unhinged me. I was like, okay, cool. So, the following drive, I threw a pretty 50-50 interception that I shouldn't have thrown. And then the next interception I threw was just complete tilt, like, and also like having to make something happen. Like, can't just fucking check it down. Like, I've got to do something down the field because I don't have enough time.
Right.
Anyways, that is part of it. Kenny Pickett sucks ass. When I took the Steelers, I swear I thought he was going to be a star development. He's not. So that's going to be fun for me. But you know, the good news is I've been getting my shit kicked in, and TJ Watt hasn't been on the field because he missed a few weeks, but he's coming back, I think, next week. Cameron Hayward got hurt in the last game in garbage time, dislocated his shoulder, and I was like, you have to be fucking joking me. Not only am I going to lose this game, and I'm tilted as hell, but in garbage time, Cameron Hayward dislocates his shoulder? But it's fine.
That's fucking killer.
He didn't show up on next week's injury report. So, he's just straight up not on the injury report. And I'm like, is a dislocated shoulder a 1-week injury now? Like,
Yeah, really.
I didn't think it was, but I'm also not fucking questioning it. So, anyway, there's reasons to, again, like halfway through the game, that I just went, who did I fucking play? Oh, it was J-Smooth. And again, he beat me 37-17, so it doesn't look like a close game at all. But just know that for most of it was. And I know that doesn't actually matter, because, like, who cares? He pulled away at the end. But it was a close game, and I didn't realize until, like, the second half that TJ Watt wasn't even in. So, that, you know, I felt good about that. I was like, yeah, I came apart a bit in the end. But ultimately, to only have lost 37-17 and the way the game went, when you're looking at roster differences, like, I'm proud of my guys for trying.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and I'll get the Force win this week because I'm playing against the Bucks anyways, who are like an incredible team that just doesn't have a user.
Right.
And the shitty part is now there'd be no reason because they started 0-5. Like, like their roster is nuts, but you kind of have to be competitive in year 1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a win it now team.
Or you take them over when they're like terrible in the first year and just blow it up and get draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Get some sexy pieces. I don't know. But yeah, so that's my Steelers story. Yeah, it's been a rough start. Again, for all the same reasons that you talked about, like I just don't. I need to have a better grip of the game, and also the
Stick
roster's
with it.
terrible. But yeah, so moving
Stick
on.
with it and try to get better.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's all you can do. Stick with it. Try to like learn from the shit that you did wrong. I am repeating mistakes less. Like I have noticed that, even though I threw 4 interceptions this last game. One of them was like a throwing out of a sack, and then a couple other ones are just like old habits where that guy was always open last year that I have to remind myself don't come true. But that's happening less than it is, or it happened more in the beginning than it does now. So at least there's that.
Right.
All right. Well, then moving on, we've got your Texans chilling with me at 1-4. Cap.
Yep. It's been a rough start. Like basically for the same reasons. Inefficiencies at certain positions, wide receiver.
Well, you've got a much worse roster than I do. So let's not sugarcoat this. Saying deficiencies at certain positions, do you mean all of them? Like
pretty much offensive line, running back. I mean, that roster is a dumpster fire basically, and I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be a whole cycle rebuild, I think.
Yeah. Well, the good news is
team's gonna take some time. Bill O'Brien, the GM, really kind of fucked them.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
But the good news is you have a decent cycle, right? This is a full cycle, and it'll be like 5-6 seasons. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. By the end of the cycle, they should be good.
Right. It's just gonna take some time. That's all.
Time. So I ain't going nowhere. So it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take my loans the first couple of years, and I'll be like, okay. Now I'm gonna start whooping your asses, guys. Just come on.
All right. We love it. We're here for it.
So let's have some fun. I'll take my lumps the first couple of years, get my draft capital, and then maybe find some studs in the draft. Who knows?
They're there. The one thing I will say, this is like, I might have to timestamp this too. The one time that I will ever praise EA for doing anything in the game. I do love that there are like generational talent players in the drafts where it's like there's 1 or 2 players that are just like incredible. Like not every draft, right? But some drafts you'll have like, and that's why I love that it's like there's no cap on the generational talent. Like I saw on the subreddit somebody drafted a wide receiver that was like 6'6", 92 speed, 93 excel with 99 jump.
Holy hell.
And don't get me wrong, like he is RN Jesus. Like he is 100% like the generational, even of the generational talents, like there's RNG in getting like the perfect player. But like that guy is gonna probably be the best, especially the way that Madden plays this year. He should be able to be the greatest receiver of all time, like without question. Yeah. But the point is, I love that they actually added in guys that are just literally built different into the draft. Yeah. Because and I also love that, as far as I can tell at least, that doesn't happen every year.
It's not all the time, but they exist.
But the fact that they exist, I think, is really cool because it exists in real life. There are those players that are just different. And
yeah, absolutely.
So that's what you're hoping for.
There's those can't miss prospects. I mean, so
that's what you're looking for if you've got that young rebuilding team and a lot of draft capital.
Yep, absolutely.
Next is going to be the Bears, who started off as CPU, but they've got a user now. Or no, don't they?
No,
I thought they had one.
I don't think they do.
I swear I thought they got one, and the reason that I thought that was because they beat the Vikings, but I'm now realizing the only reason they beat the Vikings was because it was a straight sim.
Yep.
Because the Vikings are also CPU. Damn it all. This is where doing no research for your podcast can really burn you. Because the amount of research that I did was looking at a Bears team that had won 42-21, and I was like, oh shit, we got a user? This guy is at the bottom of the barrel, but we can talk about him as a rising star. Like, he won his first game big. It's just like, oh, he's going to take the reins of that Bears team and not give a fuck about the fact that where he started was not ideal. He's a good user. He's going to just, oh, this is going to be such a great talking point.
And the person doesn't exist.
And it's not a person. It's not a user. You know what? Hey, petition to allow the CPU Chicago Bears to get fair sims.
See how far they go. Jesus.
I want the CPU Chicago Bears not to be forced. I'm making that declaration. I want that. I declare bankruptcy. Michael, that's
I mean, you
how
can
it
declare
works.
that. I doubt it's gonna happen. But
No, but back me on this though. Do you want to see that? I'm not looking at who they play. I don't want that bias. Can we declare right now in this podcast that we want to see the CPU Bears never have a force win or loss, as long as they're CPU.
Fair Sims.
Straight Sims. Fair Sims.
Straight Sims. Yep.
All right.
I second that.
Caps behind it. Come on, Filthy. Put your brand on it. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Just say you want it to.
Sure, I want it to happen. There you go. You'll see it there.
Do you actually want that though? Like, think about how cool that would be. A rogue CPU team that never had a straight. And also, like, what difficulty do we play on? Is the difficulty set to all pro, isn't it?
It's all pro, yeah.
All pro, yeah.
You just kick it on to fucking like all Madden with sliders or some shit if they have to play somebody in the playoffs. Like,
oh my god.
We're just straight sim it the whole way.
Oh my god.
That might
Chaos.
be too far.
Why? For no other reason but chaos.
I'm just saying they started. They're 1-4. The likelihood of them making the playoffs is like, it's almost zero. So just straight sim CPU's Bears games. Let them have a chance. We've seen what they can do when we allow them to play the game. They bodied the CPU Vikings. It was 42-21. They dumpstered them. Let this team out.
You need to lay off the crack, sir.
Oh, come on, man.
All right.
Come on, man.
So we got the Bucks at 0-5. That's a CPU team. The Vikings are 0-5. They're a CPU team. The Patriots are 0-5. Are they the person? Like, are they the team that got a user? I swear one of our CPU teams got a user. Yeah. All right. So the Patriots. Oh shit! So the Patriots have somebody and they have a win. It's just not reflected on the power rankings because they won this week.
Yeah, they beat the Browns.
Yeah.
Which
Look at that. All right.
We referenced at the beginning of this.
I think we should go for it. All right, so it's them and then the Titans. We got Pomp. Those are the only two user teams that are 0-5. And like we've already talked about, the Patriots are actually not 0-5. They're 1-5 because they won. So that kind of wraps out the bottom. Again, we expect to see some movement. Especially, we talked a lot about the movement that we expect to see, like, in the top half. Really, the top half.
Middle, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I'm saying, like, the top half, because, like, the literal top half of the league is everybody that's 3-2 and up. I guess, technically speaking, the literal half of the league is, like, between the Colts and Commanders, but they're both 3-2. I think the actual cutoff is, like, between the 3-2 teams and 2-3 teams.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, unless you guys disagree with me, but...
No, I don't disagree with you at all.
I think it's pretty spot on.
Even then, we did a good amount of talking about Evans and his real schedule and, like, considering, and he's doing 3, so... It's hard to say, but either way, I think, as far as this thing goes, we've done a good job of talking about the power rankings, so...
I agree. It's been good. Good,
so
solid.
where do you guys see things going from here?
I think some people are a little like, I don't know, hovering their finger over a panic button that doesn't need to be hovered over. I think we're getting rid of some guys that weren't going to be here for the long run anyway. And I see this league going forward. I think it's nothing but up from here.
I mean, we'll be all right. And it's like, and as far as the team, I don't know I don't know how the rankings are going to shake or the playoffs will shake out, but that NFC, yeah.
Heavy
The
hitters.
NFC playoffs will be something to watch. That's for damn sure.
Bunch to watch.
Heavy fucking hitters, man. And that's what we come to see, right?
That's right.
The playoffs in this league, man, the playoff games have never disappointed. There was the one that got simmed and that sucked. But, like, they've never disappointed. Like, that's
Oof.
That's what we come for. So. Alright, well. Do we have any other closing thoughts that we want to impart before we sign off for the night? Kapp, I'll start with you. Do you have anything you want to sign off with?
Well, I just want to say again, thanks for the invite, and I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Looking forward to it. Filthy, you got anything for us?
Nah, just minor stuff, man. Like, I'm happy with where the league's at. I think it's going to continue to grow. I think it's going to continue to do well. I'm not concerned about the few people that have stepped away because I feel like their priority wasn't with TSR, and that's honestly not the people we need. So I'm excited, man. I think it's going to continue to grow. I think we have I know we repeat this and bang this drum, but we really do have an amazing core, and that's going to keep this thing going, I believe, for the long term, this cycle, next cycle, and hopefully beyond.
Yeah. Well, and to echo that statement, the reason that I don't feel like I'm banging a drum when I say I think we have a great core is because I never feel like I'm saying it because I have to. I'm saying it because it's what I genuinely believe. You know, like I'm not banging a drum trying to get you could listen to me, you could not listen to me. That doesn't change the way that I think, and I think that we could. I can change my thought. I'm not that rich of a person, but the point is I was like, I'll never change the way that I think. No, we should all be more adaptable. But the point being, I'm saying it because I believe it. This league has a very strong core. It always has. And that's what we always talked about, made it as good as it was. It had good leadership and it had a good core. A few people leaving from either spectrum of that, it doesn't change what the whole is. So, that's why I'm sitting here making this podcast, and I haven't won a user game in I don't even fucking know how long. It's been rough, but I'm making this podcast because it's a good time, and I'm making it for y'all. After it's actually funny. I won't this time like I did however many episodes ago, leak DMs on Discord. But I wanted to look him up. Because after I lost to Chase Move, I was talking to him, and I was like, what the fuck? And he was like, yeah, dude, I could tell you were just forcing shit because you thought you had to make plays. And I was tilted as fuck after that game. And he even pointed out, he was like, sometimes the game is just, ridiculous. I don't want to misquote him. He did tell me that he thought that the game was in a fairly good place as compared to when it launched. All things considered, but was also yeah, the game isn't it's not perfect. It probably never will be, and it's also not even great. But what you stay for is the community, the people, the users, absolutely. And that's exactly why I'm sitting here making this podcast, because we joke about we make this podcast for social score, but that shit wouldn't matter if we didn't care about the community, right? If I didn't care about the people that I'm playing with, I wouldn't care about making this podcast for one reason or another. Wouldn't do it. Right. So, I think this is a great league. I think it'll continue to do great things, and I think because of those things, it's going to continue to lure in great talent. That's good, and good users that will be good for the league. So that's what I have to say. So for our guest tonight, Kapp, thank you so much for coming in. For Filthy, my best friend and constant co-host, and for myself, J-Dog, we are going to sign off for the night. We hope you enjoyed the content. As always, make sure that you give us feedback. We want to know, especially because we had the new power rankings. Obviously, there were points where that took weird right and left turns, but that's what this podcast is all about. So you tell us if you thought those were uncomfortable as compared to the weird left and right turns that we take when we're talking about just division standings. But we seriously do want that feedback. Let us know how tonight went. And as always, make sure you take care of yourselves, and if you can, take care of someone else as well. Otherwise, enjoy and have a great rest of your day.
Good night, guys.
Night.